make our immigration system more fair, the first thing we have to do is take away so much arbitrary power from the minister. The other thing that doing that will do is help move decisions off of one person's desk and bring it out to many. So we will be able to process applications quicker. Also, we need to ensure that the process is both fair and compassionate. Another thing that we must do is work with the provinces in order to have the credentials of would-be immigrants recognized before they can come, so that they don't fall into the trap that so many people find themselves in. They come here, their education, their experience help them come in, but then they find that it's hard for them to get work. And then they end up working in jobs that aren't using their talents. And the longer you are stuck in that kind of situation, the harder it is to break out of that trap. And of course, you have to eat. So unfortunately, people fall into this trap because they need to get any job possible when they get here.
Okay. Okay, Bryon.
Thank you for the question. The issue of immigration, I think, is a critical one, and there are two areas that the Liberal Party certainly has advocated. The first is, of course, bringing back family class reunification back to 2006 levels. We know how important it is to have families together, to support each other, particularly when they come to a new country. We are committed to the 2006 level, as well as ensuring that we have candidates who come to Canada to address the economic needs of Canadians. That is the one issue, I must say, that my office as Member of Parliament deals with on a frequent basis. Even though Members of Parliament cannot interfere in the process, they can do inquiries, they can do support letters. But for me, the system has been broken for a long time. The last Liberal government in 2005 added $900 million to help with the processing. But what has happened, unfortunately, the last few years, and particularly in family class, it has been cut. And this is the one area that I certainly hear lots about. We want to make sure also that we, as we had done before, continue to work with the provinces and territories to ensure that, although it is under their direct jurisdiction, that we promote the ability for foreign applicants when they come here to have their credentials recognized, to make it easier into the process. And in fact, engineering is one area that has taken the lead in this country. So in terms of recognition of those credentials, in terms of family class, in terms of economic needs, this is important. We have a declining birth rate in Canada, and so immigration will be the key to the future, and I think we are a party that has always welcomed immigrants, and we need to continue to do so in the future.
Thank you, Bryon. So now, Cameron.
Thank you. Well, I think you appropriately asked the question in that if we look at Canada, it truly is a diversity of cultural and ethnic backgrounds. And I think it's one of the things that makes Canada what Canada is now. And, you know, it's easy sitting where I am, not in power, and having never been in power as the Green Party, to actually say we should do a lot of things. But what you will hear from me consistently is that we need to take a look at where we're going first. We need to look at what does this country going to look like well farther out than we've been looking in the past. We need to be looking out 50 and 100 years and determining what will the future look like. And then from there, looking backwards and building policies and building systems and structures and infrastructure that supports where we're going. It doesn't make any sense to drive around a city and not know where your destination is. And I think we need to build the economy, we need to build immigration, and we need to build all our systems based on a future that works and works for everyone. So the immigration details that I could give you, I would be lying to you if I said I knew all that I needed to know about that. And what I can tell you is that there's an opportunity to take who we are as Canadians and the cultural mix that we have and build a future that is truly representative of what the world is. And we can do that here in Canada. And it's not working elsewhere. So that's what I have to say about that now.
Okay, thank you very much. So now it's debating time. 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, I would just point out that in terms of immigration, we have been and continue to be a welcoming country. But again, we need to address the real issues of the day. And the fact is that economic needs are critical in terms of addressing those. It's also being more collaborative. I have always believed that we need to be collaborative with our provincial and territorial partners, because ultimately, in terms of accreditation, that's where it lies.
Yeah.
But we also need to look at the fact that when you bring people here, we are not doing a good enough job, in my view, in providing the kind of information at embassies and consulates abroad so that people will really understand that just because you are X in country A, you're not going to necessarily be X when you come to Canada. And therefore, we have to make sure we provide better information. We need to make sure that we are providing the kind of resources in terms of dealing with, for example, the major backlogs are Beijing, New Delhi, and Damascus. And I can tell you, and Tehran, well, Tehran, 75% is in fact rejected. So we need to provide the resources not only to our personnel abroad, but also better education so people understand what it is they are going to be getting when they come to this country.
Okay, anyone else?
Generally, I agree. Yeah. Not going to have a lot of conflict there. I will comment that most migrants tend to be in a certain age bracket. So when you're looking forward at filling in demographic holes, you can see where that's going to be, right? We do have a need for skills in this country, and of course, but we actually have to use the skills of the people that come.
Okay, Carol?
Yeah, I don't know that I would debate the point per se to a great degree. We do have to do a better job. We have to clear the backlogs in the system, and we have to make sure that we're taking care of the entire family. If we don't have an economic structure that's working here that can look after the children when they come, right up to their grandparents when they come, then we have to take a serious look at what's working and what's not working. And again, that goes to create the future and work our way backwards to have a system that works today. It's working and not working to a greater or lesser degree, and there's things that we're always going to be able to improve that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a debate per se as to whether we need to do a better job. Now it's a question of accessing the people, asking the questions, and doing a better job.
I think we probably also all agree that we have to do something about the vultures looking to make money off of immigrants. These are consultants that aren't really consultants. They're people just interested in ripping people off.
And in fact, Parliament did pass a law dealing with the issue of consultants, and absolutely correct, there are people who have masqueraded themselves as consultants. My office will not deal with immigration consultants or lawyers for one obvious reason. There can only be one person handling the file. Obviously, we try to do that on behalf of our constituents.
Yeah.
But often people will take your money, and then at the end of the day, they say, well, nothing more we can do. Go see your MP. Well, you know, at that point, that is obviously not good enough. We have rules now in place in dealing with consultants, and there, in fact, many of the legitimate consultants in this country wanted to have tougher legislation and be able, just like, say, Ontario teachers have their own association in terms of regulations, or doctors have their own regulatory body. They wanted to have a regulatory body that works.
Can I have a couple of comments? Thanks for the information. I know that actually for immigrant there are two steps. First step is immigration, second step is citizenship. So from the Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration, I want to know the consistency of the policies, because I have come across many investor immigrants recently, and of course that China is one of the major sources for investor immigrants. They have some concerns. The first concern is that when they were first evaluated for their status, English was not required. But after they came here, and they have to pass the English test to become a citizen. And to many of them, they had issues, they had problems in the English language. So that could end up with the issue that they may not be able to pass the exam, they may not be able to obtain the citizenship, or eventually they may not be able to stay here. So that's a lot of sort of concerns and frustration there. So what's your comments there?
And again, I think that goes back, it's a very good point, to providing the right information at our consulates and embassies abroad to make sure it is clear. If it's the investor class program and we're asking people to bring a significant amount of dollars to this country, what is it that we're asking them to do, and what will be the requirements, not just when they come, but if they want to become a citizen, so that it's up front rather than the shock and disappointment later.
We also have to help the support mechanisms for people to learn the official language, either English or French, so that they can pass that test. Because if people want to be a loyal Canadian, we should help them to make that happen.
Cameron, do you have anything?
Yeah, just very briefly to add, I think, again, it's not a lot of debate. It's really a consistency of finding out what the concerns are and taking the measures necessary to have it go a different way.
Okay.